Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the very first weekly version of Uncanny, the show where we're going to talk about comic books and certain points that come up throughout those comic books that I think are of importance. Now, we have looked in the past about joining in on the whole reading of comics, what to start with, and we talked about how that's really just what your tastes are. This past Friday, you got to see the interview I did with Jim Zub at Gen Con 2013. Again, thank you, Jim. It was an excellent interview. I had a great time talking to you. This week, however, I want to start getting into the meat of comics. What makes comics the way they are? And these are going to be topics that might be new topics. They might be topics that have gone on for decades. And this week, what I'd like to talk about are secret identities. Now, secret identities are a tool that have been used in comics since the Golden Age. You have characters like Bruce Wayne being Batman, Clark Kent being Superman. It seemed when every comic started, the hero was a mystery man. And that was where we got the whole need for secret identities. Because while yes, these guys were heroes and gals, while they were heroes, they also wanted to have a somewhat normal life. So Superman, when he wasn't fighting crime, was Daily Planet reporter Clark Kent. Batman was billionaire Bruce Wayne. This gave them a sense of humanity. This also did some things like, especially in the early days, it allowed for some protection. Villains couldn't get to you or to those you loved if they didn't know who you were. And so, over the years, secret identities have stayed the same. They have become, I don't know, sometimes they're less common than they were before, but the reasons for secret identities have definitely changed. You have those with secret identities who are protecting the people around them, people they care about. And that would be people like Clark Kent, Peter Parker, for those of you who for some reason don't know, Spider-Man, and everyone who has been the Flash, be it Barry Allen, Wally West, Bart Allen. They are hiding their identities from their foes because they have people in their lives. And these are people that they care about, that they don't want to see get hurt. And every now and then, this is brought home to them when a loved one might unwittingly stumble into the arch-villain's pathway. And in some cases, when the villain learns about who the hero really is. In the story Identity Crisis, there's a flashback scene where they're retelling about when the Injustice League were able to capture the Justice League, switch bodies with them, and learn their secret identities. And in order to protect themselves, they had Zatanna mind wipe all the members of the Injustice League, because that secret identity was so important. Because there were people that the Justice League cared about. Now, there are also heroes who use a secret identity because it would be too dangerous for their villains to know. And I'm not just saying because it would hurt people around them, which very well might, but just these villains are too psychotic. And the clear example of this is Batman. Batman as Bruce Wayne has to deal with the public image, has to deal with a corporate empire, he has to deal with his own business villains. As Batman, he's got people like Clayface, Killer Croc, the Joker, and if any of them were to find out his secret identity, both sides of his life would come crumbling down. There is a story written by Grant Morrison called Batman Rest in Peace. And in it, The main villain is a man named Dr. Hurt, who his whole goal is to just ruin Batman's life. And he knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. He masquerades as Bruce Wayne's father, Thomas Wayne, all in an effort to really get into his mind to just destroy the man behind the mask. And he does it remarkably well. And in the end of this, Batman is basically forced to kill Dr. Hurt, or at least we think he's killed Dr. Hurt. Whether or not that's true, honestly, I don't really remember. This was right before Final Crisis happened, and just lots of crazy stuff happened because of that. So Batman has faced this before. There have been alternate stories in things like Batman Beyond and The Dark Knight Returns where the villains learn that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and it never ends well. Now, there are also those who have a secret identity because it's needed to get away with their plans. And this falls under both heroes and villains. There are heroes like Daredevil and anti-hero Catwoman who can't do what they do if their identity is known. Matt Murdock can't practice law and be a vigilante. And Daredevil is probably the clearest case of a true vigilante. Selena Kyle can't go around robbing people and staying out of the eye of the police if her identity as Catwoman is known. Now, on the very, very villainous side, Mr. Sinister. He is originally known as Nathaniel Essex. He's given power by Apocalypse, and he uses this to carry out his experiments. And he's able to do this for over 100 years, and nobody's the wiser. Nobody connects respected Dr. Nathaniel Essex with this evil creature of the night. Now, it has come to pass in recent years that it's very clear that Nathaniel Essex is Mr. Sinister. In his original ongoing series, Gambit was able to go back in time, and the opposite of stopping Mr. Sinister from carrying out some of his plots, he unwittingly gave him power that he previously hadn't had. And it was power that we had read about him having and seen him having in comics. And we kind of were given the backstory of how he got that power. But even in alternate universes, in the Age of Apocalypse, where he's one of Apocalypse's horsemen, he still goes and uses Dr. Nathaniel Essex as a pseudonym. He still does it to get things done his own way. So the crazy can have their way with it. Now, honestly, we never found out the Joker's true identity. It could very well be that a writer along the way could bring that out, and you could find out someone who had been around comics forever as an upstanding citizen is really the Joker, and it would just make things come crumbling down. Now, there are also those who have to use secret identities to protect themselves against hatred and bigotry and just a lack of understanding. The X-Men are an excellent example of this. For years, the X-Men had secret identities. Nobody knew their real names. More recently, in the past decade or so, X-Men and mutants in general in the Marvel Universe have been very open with their identities because they take pride in being a mutant. They don't want it to seem like they're ashamed. Another hero who has used this means of keeping a secret identity is Billy Batson, who is also known as Captain Marvel or Shazam or whatever he's being called these days. Now, Billy Batson is a young teenage boy who has been granted the power of multiple gods to become Captain Marvel by saying the name of the wizard who granted him these powers, Shazam. Now, for a long time, most of the heroes in the DC universe didn't know that Captain Marvel was really a teenage boy. Even those that were on his team when he was in the Justice Society. It wasn't until he was forced to relinquish his powers when he was in the Shadowlands, Shadow Realm. I'm not quite sure what it's called. Basically, Obsidian had captured him, and Stargirl and Sentinel, and he had to change back in front of Stargirl. And that changed their relationship. Now you have these two teen heroes that are in way over their heads, but one has been pretending to be a full-fledged adult superhero. The other is openly a teenager. And when I say it changed things, I mean they had a relationship, and others saw this who didn't know Billy's secret, and they tried to protect Stargirl against this adult who might have amorous feelings towards her. So, with all that said, there's really one more group that keeps their identity secret, and those are minors. Now, the Teen Titans are the perfect example of this. The public does not know the Teen Titans' secret identities. Even for a while, the other Teen Titans didn't know Robin's secret identity. Because if they knew his identity, they most likely could quickly figure out Batman's secret identity. And there's a lot of trust issues there. But think about this. If you're a teenager and you're risking your life and you're, capable and trained to kill others or badly beat them, and you have powers beyond normal mortals, people are going to want to control you. People are going to want to tell you to stop. And if they know your identity, it's much easier. It's also much easier for a villain to attack a child. And that is one of the greatest fears in comics, is that the sidekicks get attacked. Those teen sidekicks who it's just irresponsible for them to exist in the first place. But I digress. So all of those things go into secret identities. Now, I did mention that there's been a change towards having less secret identities. There are tons of characters, especially in the Marvel Universe, where characters just don't have a secret identity. Or if they have one, it's well known. Tony Stark is Iron Man. Carol Danvers is Miss Marvel. Steve Rogers is Captain America. People know this. It's not a secret. And the main reason for this is they've got nobody that they have to worry about, really. I mean, yeah, Tony Stark has Pepper Potts and very few other people. Steve Rogers, everyone he's got contact with is in the superhero community. Carol Danvers is military and a superhero. The list kind of goes on and on. But the key ingredient is there's no one to be hurt by villains knowing their secret identity. Captain America's from the 1940s. Everyone he knows that he was close to are dead. Tony Stark's, this billionaire technologist, it would make sense for him to be Iron Man. The Army backs Carol Danvers up. So you've got all this, you've got this lack of concern for others when you don't have to worry about villains knowing your secret identity. There's also an extreme amount of loneliness that goes along with that. You got to figure, there's no one you can get really close to that's not in tights. And as comics have shown us over and over again, superhero relationships are often volatile. They burn bright and then they burn out. The last relationship Captain America had was with S.H.I.E.L.D. Agent 13, and she was mind controlled into shooting Captain America. So there's that. But anyway, that was a look at secret identities, and it was a lengthy look, I know, but these are major topics. So that's going to be it for this week's Uncanny. Join us next week as we look at a new topic, and join us this Friday for a brand new Bacchus Top 5. So until next week, I'll see you guys later. Bye.